Bum ba bum. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. I wanted to talk a little bit about the process of individuation as it relates to alchemy. As I kind of explained in my previous video, that alchemy is clearly a big theme in this game, and it seems that so too is human psychology, and Jung actually tied those two together with his process of individuation, of seeking wholeness and being united with your conscious and unconscious self, rediscovering your true authentic self and not what your ego is trying to make you. In the chat, I dropped a couple different things. Dropped applied Jung, the steps of individuation, and the steps of the magnum opus and turning lead into gold, and how that's the same thing that happens internally. I think it's worthwhile to cover that and to get a better understanding of. Oh! Oh! A better understanding of what we're seeing in game and bringing it full circle. It's a very deep thing to try to understand and to try to, honestly, to try to get right, especially with the limited knowledge that I have and kind of the limited explanation we're given in game. But it definitely mirrors what we're seeing on the outside, mirrors what is happening in America on the inside. So it's worth looking into and getting a better explanation of. Hello.
Ah, nice to meet you. The pleasure's mine. Roger is the name. A sorcerer, as you might have guessed. I'm looking for a little something here in the castle. When I'm not hot-footing it from the troops, that is. But enough about me. What are you doing here in Stormvale Castle? This place is bristling with tarnished hunters, you know. They sacrifice our kind for grafting. Not exactly a place I'd stroll into without a purpose in mind.
I can't tell you.
Of course, I understand. Why place trust in a perfect stranger? Be safe then, stranger. Watch you don't get sacrificed, eh? I'll do the same. Oh, something bothering you? Or are you just trying to pass the time? I'm curious how you ended up inside this castle. I see. Here to challenge Godric and lay your hands upon a great rune, are you? You can see it then, I take it. The guidance of grace. Well, enjoy it while you can. I'm tarnished, like you. But unlike you, I've seen neither hide nor hair of this guidance for the longest time. Still, I won't forget how it felt when I first came here, to the lands between. I'm privy to a few magical battle arts. Would you care to learn one? As a fellow tarnished, once guided by grace, I'd love to help you out, if it please.
It's interesting. He it seems like his grace guided him to Stormville Castle. Like that was kind of his destiny. I don't need any of this. Thank you. I'm out. I love these. To me, these tell such a great story. It's, to me, very symbolic of, as somebody's growing, and you see kind of the split-offs and stuff, the different decisions that they make to grow as an individual, and the different things that they leave behind. And then that's, the visual representation of that is a tree. Ooh. In the chat, I also dropped a little kind of quick phrase of kind of the process of individuation, and it says, "In the unconscious, everything is united. When consciousness arises out of the unconscious, it is divided into opposites. Opposites are the nature of the universe." That's individuation in a nutshell. Individuation is also termed as the process of uniting the opposites. And I think if you apply that to the statue that we see at Fair Missoula and Malekith's boss room, and everything that we know about the game and the importance placed upon opposites, can I get back out of here? It becomes very clear that the crucible seems to be the unconscious unconsciousness of America's psyche, and when we're a child, that's basically that is the dominant force of our psyche. So it's only when the ego consciousness arises from that that we start to see this division of opposites, and that's exactly what you see in Malekith's boss room. And for America, her consciousness and her ego drove her to basically the Golden Order, and the Erd Tree, and very much a theme of order. Let's read what this says. Mimic Vale. So when Godric was hounded from Lindell, the royal capital, this was one of the multitude of treasures he took with him, also known as Marika's Mischief. This is such a... it's such a hard... that throws a wrench in, like, so many things. Because that opens the door to a lot of mystery. Here you go, what's up? Okay. Whoops. Oh, jeez, don't kill me. So, basically, in this, the goal of the process of individuation is to reunite the opposites within our psyche, and to become whole again, and almost go back to the state of wholeness and unity that is the unconsciousness. Jesus, this fucking guy. So basically, we're born as a child. In our younger years, we are operating in the unconscious realm, which is why the Elden Ring looks so chaotic and root-like, is because there's no division, there's no opposites forming, there's no agenda, and then as we grow and we develop and we start to change ourselves for basically for the acceptance of society and for a very ego-driven reasons, we start to split off from ourselves and create these divisions within ourselves. And the more and more we do that, the worse and worse it becomes. Oh, thank you. Until we lose who we were in the beginning altogether. And we are so fractured and lost that we need to reunite these opposites and go through the process of individuation. Basically turning our inner lead into our inner gold. And that's kind of the process of individuation in a nutshell. So, as alchemist attempts to transmute lead into gold, the human being goes through an analogous process of becoming conscious of unconscious content, and eventually becoming individuated, the state of wholeness and being most authentic expression of yourself. So there's 4 stages of transformation, and there's 4 stages of individuation. And Jung applies each stage of transmutation of lead into gold as the same as the process of individuation. So, Negredo, the blackening, this process involves the burning away and seeking the prima materia, the original pure, uncorrupted matter. This is symbolic of a rebirth. Fire is a critical element to achieve this. Psychotherapy, the stage is represented by facing the shadow. This stage refers to a blackening of mood, a depression, the dark night of the soul. The process of internal conflict and facing one's undesirable qualities is intense and confrontational. Its fire burns away the misconceptions, self-criticism, and guilt. It is the death of the previous identity, creating the possibility of birth of a new self. To me, this fits beautifully with what we see happen in the Night of the Black Knives. The dark night of the soul, which I've talked about before, and all that kind of stuff. It's all the very beginnings of America letting go of her ego, letting go of what she thought her identity was, and starting the process of individuation. Yeah, I think for sure. I think that's exactly what Dad is trying to say, is that the only way he got out was through the mimic veil. I agree. I think he would have got absolutely murdered here, as we're about to. Although they're kind of just taking care of themselves, which is nice. Like, I kind of wonder, like, it'd be hilarious to see if it just turned him into, like, a fucking pot. He just, like, very slowly, like, scooted away. Or if it had the ability to, like, turn him into, like, a significant authority figure, and that's how he got away. He kind of just, like, walked out as being a different character altogether. I don't really need to go over there yet. But I think that the item description is almost certainly a misdirection by Miyazaki. Ay, ay, ay. Beast blood. Let's read what that says here, huh? Fresh beast blood, glinting with gold, material used for crafting items. This glimmering blood never rots or decays. So, we basically get the first step of the process of individuation in the opening cutscene. That to me is definitely a Negredo confronting oneself, killing your ego and what you once deemed as what makes you you, so that way you can have the possibility of this rebirth and things like that. Once I get to some safety, I'll go through the second step and see where we can find that in game or in cutscenes. So, second stage is albedo, the whitening or emergence of the soul life. During this phase, there is a withdrawal from the world, an intense reflection on the direction and purpose of the individual's life. The soul rises from the psyche and its essence is extracted. At the end of this stage, there is a heightened spiritual awareness and purpose. To me, this is the shattering. This is when Marika says that she's going to look into the depths of the Golden Order. And she basically looks within herself and sees the issues going on, and shatters her previous version of herself, basically. Just kind of looking for some clues on the map and stuff like that. If Miyazaki choosing to have a map is not, should not go unnoticed. It's the clues that we get from there are just as valuable as the clues that we get from item descriptions, in-game dialogue, all that kind of stuff. So we'll be in areas of great import. We'll be checking the map to see what we can find and if there's any clues. Rancor call. Alright. Sorcery of the Servants of Death summons vengeful spirits that chase down foes. Once thought lost, this ancient death hex was rediscovered by the necromancer Garrus. And rancor means bitterness or resentfulness. Which way was I going here? What's the motivation behind the shattering, though? Just self-reflection. So, yes and no. Usually something like this, the process of individuation, ego death, all that kind of stuff, is usually triggered by some trauma. And throughout my live streams and my lore videos, we found some pretty big evidence of America experiencing the trauma of miscarriage. And that would be the trigger of this stuff. So to get to the process of individuation is usually triggered by a very traumatic event in somebody's life. I don't know if you've caught past live streams or not, but like the map as a whole is a fetus in a womb. The harpies often are singing about how they are mothers and will never have children, and why the god is angry at them, and it all just kind of seems to fit the theme of of miscarriage. Dead. Nope, not dead. Dude, why is that button not working? My circle button's getting like stuck. What? Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad. Jeez. My timing has gotten really bad. Well. You're close, dude. Come on now. Thank you. Yeah, I can't not see it anymore. Yeah. Yeah. We might be able to get, once we uncover a little bit more, we should remember that this is a place of significance, and see if we can find anything on the map once we get a bigger picture of it. Man. Hmm. Prince of Death's Postule. Let's see what it says. A fetid pustule taken from facial flesh raises vitality. Vitality governs resistance to the effects of death. It is said that this pustule came from the visage of Prince of Death, he who used to be called Godwin. As first dead of the demigods, it said he's buried deep under the capital at the Erd Tree's roots. I know there's been some debate as to like if this is a second Godwin or something like that, but I think it's just the fact that Deathroot has taken hold so much of the lands between that this is just one of like the bigger effects of it. Because once we get down to where Godwin's actually at, you can see that there's like all of his vines and stuff kind of have eyes and faces on them. So I think this is just like the biggest of those kind of outcroppings. Yeah. Yeah, it is so far away from where Godwin is. And that could... This image is here in Limgrave. I'm not sure. I think that there's definitely a reason for it. You know, it's in relation to this area. We know that this used to be Godfrey's castle, now inhabited by Godric. This is the first great rune, and the kind of the significance of that, as we will get into. But it could be a multitude of things. It could be showing us exactly how pervasive the spread of this Deathroot is. You know, and if you're, since we're looking at it as a human psychology standpoint, kind of the last places that this would kind of take effect would be like the capital area. That's kind of like the last thing to fall, if you will. Where the hell am I going? I think Stormvale Castle is meant to represent the kind of aspects of the unconsciousness. It's the Stormlands. Beasts are kind of very loved here and worshipped. The castle itself has a very dark, blackish color tone to it. All of these different things seem to point in the direction that the theme of the area is kind of this domain of the unconscious. Yeah. Let's see if I can find a spot that... Yeah, I think often Stormvale is... It doesn't even attack you. Interesting. We know a great battle took place here, and it seems to me that great battle was a battle of the conscious and unconscious clash. I think if I remember right, the opening cutscene. It's possible. That's a crazy visual to have, but it's definitely possible. I don't think that that's the case. I think that he was slain in the capital and then thrown to where he's at now. But I am in no position to say yes or no on anything, so. But I can't get that image out of my head. Oh shit. I forget, is there anything down here? Spazzing out here. I think that surely what you seek is somewhere close by here. Come on, guys. Does this give us kind of a... kind of, yeah, there we go. So I don't think that it doesn't seem to be like, when zoomed in on it, it just seems to be like a crater. Dude, what is that noise? Oh, is it just constantly throwing rocks at me? Cool. Because isn't it that Morgott led the attack on Stormville? And if Morgott very much seems to be kind of like this protector of the current current order, it would fit that if Stormville, so if Morgott represents an aspect of America's consciousness, trying to keep the current order and kind of have his time in the light, it would make sense that he would then go on to attack something that represents the unconsciousness that is trying to destroy that very thing. And that this area would be the kind of the eye of the storm, ground zero for that internal battle. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Godwin being the golden scion, maybe Morgott was protecting his body from being found in Stormville. Excuse me.
Be proud. You were a father. Your only mistake was your choice of master. Let the winds lift you to a higher place. Well, who do we have here? Tarnished, are you? Clearly not one of Godric's lot. I am Nefeli Lu. Tarnished and warrior, like you. I'm here by decree of my father. How utterly repellent this is. This grafting of Godric's ill befits a lord. He's tainted the very winds. If you intend to challenge Godric, I ask you call upon me. The winds run foul with his deeds. I'm certain father would permit me aid the fight.
Mm-hmm. She's a hottie.
Apologies, but I've idled long enough. As fellow Tarnished, we must each follow our own guidance. Down whatever road takes us to the throne of Elden Lord. Apologies, as fellow down whatever road takes us to the throne of Elden Lord.
Jerk. I'm walking here. God, I feel slow. So, as we fight Godric, I want to pay close attention to his great rune that we get at the end and the description of it in relation to what he is doing. with the grafting. Come on, baby. Let's get him.
Mighty dragon, thou'rt a true born heir. Lend me thy strength, O kindred. Deliver me unto greater heights. Well. The lowly tarnished. Plain as a lord. I command thee, kneel! I am the lord of all that is golden.
What? Get him, Nepheli. Truest of dragons. Lend me thy strength. I think grafted for sure. I don't even think he's a real person anymore. Except for his head, I guess. And notice the colors of him too. Black and trimmed with gold. Very much a theme of Stormville. You got him, Nepheli. All you, baby.
I am the lord of all that is golden. And one day, we'll return together to our home, bathed in rays of gold.
So in the last video, we talked about the definition of the words chrysalids. Broderica says that everybody that gets grafted is turned into a chrysalid, and chrysalid is something that is in the process of development. And with the dominant color here being black, with, you know, kind of the tips of gold, to me, this Stormveil is a representation of, like, the shadow being tamed, and like putting a crown on it. I mean, that's literally what happens with Godfrey. He kind of tames his shadow to become Lord, but we all know that eventually that shadow comes back out, and he relinquishes his duties of Lord, to become back who he truly is. He's kind of a microcosm of the process of individuation, and we know that the beginning process of that mimics alchemy is the Negredo, blackening. So all of these different things, the chrysalids, you know, the shadow kind of being tamed, the ego dominating, it's all a reflection of this early stages of the process of individuation, and how we get to our inner goal. Okay, I level up super quick. I want to do a strength build, I think. That sounds kind of fun. So we'll go ahead and read. Remembrance of Godric the Grafted, hewn into the Erd Tree, power of the namesakes, blah, blah, blah. A feeble man sought power through the grotesque act of grafting. One day we'll return together to our home, bathed in rays of gold. And then if we look at... Oh, I gotta... So, Godric seems to be completely obsessed with connecting things to himself and eventually getting back to in the light of the Erd Tree, or in the light of America's consciousness. But in order for that to happen, something is telling him to graft and to join things to himself. I love these little creatures. I'm very much under the conclusion that these divine towers arose from the unconsciousness. The kind of scaly, aquatic, amphibious type of creatures seem to reflect that, as well as it seems to just go down into nothingness. And that point will be further solidified when we go to Caelid's Divine Tower and what we find down there. It's almost like we are grafting the runes to ourselves. Yeah, kind of. But I think that there's a specific reason why Godric is doing it. Mm. To me, that looks like the volcanic stone or whatever that we get from, like, in the Great True Roots from, like, the ants and stuff, that says it's like the foundation of, or like the beginnings of the world or whatever, which would, if it did come from, you know, the unconsciousness and the deep down, it would make sense that a visualization of that would be that volcanic rock. All right, let's check it out. Great Rune of the Shardbearer Godric. Its blessings raise all attributes. Yeah, just symbolic. Yeah. Interesting point. Are the runes grafted to the Shardbearers, and we are snatching it by killing them? Doesn't it also look like Fire God's Eye? Maybe. So the Great Rune. So this Great Rune is known as the Anchor Ring, found in the center of the Elden Ring. First time demigods were the Elden Lord Godfrey and his offspring, the Golden Lineage. So this Great Rune is known as the Anchor. The way that I see the Great Runes is that they are individual aspects of Marika's psyche, and when separated from one another, they have this almost like possessive effect to the Shardbearer. And I believe that the reason that Godric is grafting things to him is because this Great Rune is the Anchor Ring, and it's found at the center, and it holds all the other rings together. So this is the center point where everything else attaches to. And I think that over time, this Great Rune like whispered into Godric's ear of, you know, graft and attach and all this different type of stuff, and he kind of just decayed over time until the Great Rune completely possessed his thoughts, and that's the only thing he could do, because that's the nature of this Great Rune. Are you saying like it only raises like endurance, strength, vitality, and not like the more mind-driven aspects? So we've talked about Yep. We've talked about how the different stages of the Animus, and how they become Elden Lord, and that the Animus is the masculine qualities within every female. So to me, it makes perfect sense that since this great rune is attributed to Godfrey, and Godfrey being the first stage of the Animus, that the attributes that it would increase would be the more masculine physical attributes. Because in the feminine part of an individual, that's more faith, intelligence, much more like mind-oriented stuff rather than physical attributes.
What a pathetic excuse for a lord you were. Craven to the bone.
Hey Kim, yeah we are. We just talked about
And after all that grafting, where did that get you?
Godric and
Look down on me.
why he was grafting and stuff like that.
You filthy slug. Feel it. Feel it. Feel my
Yeah, I think that's all that remains of who he actually was. I think everything else was grafted.
Oh. Hello there.
Hi.
This weasel was... Godric was always looking down on me. He got what he bloody deserved thanks to you. I tell you though, what goes around comes around. He had an ugly heart, an uglier countenance, and met the ugliest of ends, eh?
Kim, you might be interested, and everybody, if you're joining, at the very beginning of the stream in the chat, I dropped a couple different things that talk about the process of individuation and how it reflects the process of transmutation with alchemy, and how Jung combined the two and said one happened, in the outside world of alchemy and one happens on the inside world of psychology. And we're just kind of talking about how yeah, no worries. Actually, I said I was going to be on at noon, but I forgot that we're leaving at noon to go to a Christmas for the weekend, so I won't stream again probably until like Sunday night. But I wanted to kind of get my thoughts down and stuff like that, and before I left. So super quick, I think you'd find this interesting. I'm just gonna, so step one of the process of transmutation and alchemy, and also stage one of the process of individuation is negredo, or the blackening. This process involves the burning away and seeking the prima materia, the original pure uncorrupted matter. This is symbolic of a rebirth, and fire is the critical element to achieve this. In psychotherapy, this stage is represented by facing the shadow. This stage refers to a blackening of mood, a depression, the dark night of the soul. The process of internal conflict and facing one's undesirable qualities is intense and confrontational. This fire burns away the misconceptions, self-criticism, and guilt. It is the death of a previous identity, creating the possibility of birth of a new self. To me, this fits beautifully with the opening cutscene of The Night of the Black Knives. The murder of Godwyn is, like we talked about before, this beginning stages of ego death and of killing one's previous self in order to start this rebirth process of wholeness and uniting the opposites and things like that. The crown is head. The crown is still on its dead head. That mean anything? Because generally the crown should roll away. I don't know. It could. It could also just be as simple as that was his like in development, that's his kind of base. That's like the only form that they have of him is with the crown, so they just put that there because they just didn't want to remake a different. It could be something as simple as that. I don't think it has any hidden meaning behind it, though. Shabriri grape. Maiden, dear maiden, where are you? Please take my grapes. A yellowing, oozing eyeball of the infirm, surface is shriveled, and the inside is squishy, not unlike a large, overly ripe grape. Give to the blind maiden to guide her to the distant light. I wonder why you find, like, there's definitely a reason that this is the start of the Frenzied Flame questline. Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be super badass. I wish that the crown, the Elden Lord, didn't have the wig on it. It's really interesting that the Frenzied Flame quest starts here. Yeah. It's I have kind of a general thought about Outer Gods. Right. To me, we talked about Outer Gods before and how they seem to be symbolic of some sort of mental illness, and that basically these thoughts and pathologies seem to come when a person is lost in their life. They almost are an empty vessel for which these outer gods can completely manipulate and control. And like, I wonder, since we're so early into the game and we don't really know what's going on, that this is the tactic of an outer god to persuade us and to become a vessel for them. And if how this is kind of, it happens with everybody who becomes in contact and essentially possessed by an outer god. Because we don't have enough information. Like, at this point, I would consider us as lost as we get in this game. We have very little information. We've been transported and teleported everywhere. We just killed this guy that was grafting things to his body, and we're in this utter state of confusion, and we kind of have our first interaction with an outer god that's trying to persuade us into enacting their will. Because, like, even Moog, when he talks about coming into contact with the Formless Mother, it's kind of at his deepest disparity. And from that moment on, he's kind of possessed by this outer god.
Hello? Is someone there? My name is Hayata, and I'm journeying in search of the distant light. If I might be so bold as to ask, would you donate any Shabriri grapes in your possession to me? My eyesight has been weak since birth, you see. I can't tell which way.
And they all have kind of their own agenda to make us do something that they want us to do.
I can feel a distant light in the back of my eyes. It will lead me to my true duty as a finger maiden. Oh, many thanks to you. Now I can feel the distant light once more. You are most kind indeed.
And, like,
may the blessing of the fingers be upon you.
The dichotomy of how we are presented initially with the frenzied flame being this really sweet, innocent, very quiet woman, and then knowing what we know with the frenzied flame ending, how it is the total opposite of how she presents herself. It's very manipulating. Also decrees the call of grace, essentially diminishing himself and resenting grace for thinking him worthy of calling. Let's go back to her really quick. Yeah. Whoops, I forgot to give. Damn it. Well, who cares? Who cares? It's interesting how Hayata says, "Blessing of fingers be with you," as if there is only 3 fingers and she is unaware of the existence of 2 fingers. Yeah. I mean, if she is a maiden of the 3 fingers, I wouldn't say that she's unaware, although she definitely could be. But it seems more that she seems that she just represents the three fingers. Where is Bruno? I was thinking that the three-finger frenzy and the two fingers are on the same hand, representing the greater will, just the duality of it. I think that the greater will represents the two fingers, and the frizzy flame represents three fingers. I think that they are totally separate outer gods. I agree with you that at one point it was one full hand. That when America made her kind of decision and her consciousness started going in the direction of order, that just like everything else splits and creates opposites, so too does the hand.
Glad to see you safe. Here to learn.
Caused a split.
Well,
Are you saying like what causes the split?
until we meet.
Out. Demon, climbing. Right. Man, he is kicking my ass. Damn it. Yeah. Fuck me. Don't die. Okay. You bastard. Oh my god, that happens every time. Yeah, her current innocence could definitely be truthful. Because I think the frenzy flame is also manipulating her.
Hello? Can you hear me? Help me.
I'm not sure. That's it's
Anyone?
something that we should think about as we're going through, because
Playing at. This is
oh.
no time for game.
Do I have to talk to you first?
Aye, please.
Yeah.
I thank. Just give me, and I'll pop. Don't dally. Give it your all, I said.
Because a lot of things change in the night, and I think that the totality of all those different things is telling a story, and not so much like one individual. Like, I'm sure the bell-bearing hunters have.
Well, I'm out now, and that's what counts.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Once again, I journey to and beyond these. And upon their southern edge is. I'd heard whispers of such. Doesn't the notion set your breast? I'm who read me. I've heard that.
Because we so those hunters come, the deathbirds come, and the night guys come as well. All during the Black Knights all come during the nighttime. And Morgoth also says to fear the night. And it could be that night represents the overtaking of. Right. Yeah. Different aspects of the same whole, correct. Yeah. It's almost like the nighttime is the time for the let's go to the castle. Finish that up. I wonder what happens now that, like, if you go back and talk to Hyetta. It's almost like nighttime is the short period of time where the unconscious kind of takes over. Like, if we think about our own personal real life nighttime, like when we're sleeping, we're in a state of unconscious, and things like dreams and stuff like that is according to Jung, kind of tells us what our unconsciousness is doing, kind of the festering parts of our unconsciousness. Yeah. Oh, Claymore would kind of be fun. What strength weapon should I use? What do you guys think? What would you like to see? Oh, nice block. This again, just, this fight of the Misbegottens and the Golden Soldiers just expresses how desperately the unconscious of America is trying to free themselves. And this internal fight that is happening, we see it kind of kind of all over the place. The Game of Thrones sword? The sword of like flame and whatever in Karya? God, you guys are annoying. Bye. Is that a strength weapon? I've never used it. It'd be kind of fun to do that. What are like the... What do I have to pump to get that? Yeah. Jeez! Oh. Oh. The grafted one? Okay. Let's do it. I don't think I've ever used that one either. Oh, I see. It's Game of Thrones because it's like made from all the other enemies and stuff like that. Okay. I'm slow, but I'm picking it up. Grants you a +5 in all stats for a minute. Oh. Interesting. Well, let's go get it. What the? Whoa, if you defeat Godric, is he gone? What the hell? I did not know that. I hope that doesn't mess up the Shabriri Grape quest. I might have fucked all that up. Not that we need to do it, but I did not know that was a thing. Have what? Didn't you still talk to oh girl you're straight? Without killing Misbegotten you can't progress Arena's questline. Yeah, but shouldn't I be able to talk to her dad? I still have the letter, but or do I have to kill? No, he should be there. He should be there. I should be able to talk to him, and then I kill the Misbegotten and go back, and then he leaves. Isn't that right? Oh, I don't have the grafted sword. I haven't done this yet. I still have to go down there and... Interesting. Okay. Please help me, I'm of noble blood. If those hideous mongrels eat me, I'll be forever marred. Anything but that, think of the disgrace. Oh, okay. That makes sense. I should have known that, but we all know the quest line. It's fine. I did want to talk about the armor that her dad is wearing. It shows kind of the duplicity of his internal struggles. One side is white and one half is black, and is he wearing the Banished Knight set? Apparently not, crazy. Yeah, right. I'm learning with you. We'll once we meet him at the shack, or I guess if he'll be at her corpse, we'll look at it then. So this is the furthest away that we can get from the capital. Castle Morn, Weeping Peninsula. We know that in this fourth church, America is now facing away from the Erd Tree. This area seems to be a division in kind of her process. And basically this is, it definitely could be. That would be really, really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I talked about D a little bit in one of the, when we first met him, maybe in yesterday's video, and how it showed, and we can. No, I don't remember that. Oh, no, I do remember that. Interesting. Huh. So knowing what we know about the unconscious and it being, like I stated in the beginning of this, and the little excerpt I put at the beginning of the chat, in the unconscious, everything is united. And that is brought to life by the misbegottens. They have, they are made up of like every aspect of a living creature. So whenever we see a misbegotten, I think it's fair to assume that it's a representation of America's unconscious. And specifically, like here at Castle Morn, it is her unconscious rebelling and fighting the egocentric parts of her. I mean, that kind of gives a very good... This picture right here gives kind of a very good illustration of this golden tree is completely overshadowing the castle. And the castle is just kind of a forgotten, dark and gray thing that is undesirable when juxtaposed to the Erd tree. Okay, let's read that sword. Grafted blade, greatsword. The storied sword of Castle Morn, a revenger's weapon. It is burdened with oceans of anger and regret. One of the legendary armaments. Again, Miyazaki loves to use oceans and bodies of water as a symbol of kind of the unconscious dream world, death world, and I don't think that's there's a reason that he used the word oceans there. A lone surviving champion from a country now vanished was so determined to continue fighting that he claimed the swords of an entire clan of warriors. Yeah. Yep. We know that the shadow is represented as a beast, and Siraj was known as the king of beasts. So to have this in all the different clues that we're getting, that this was a weapon of the unconscious fighting against the egocentric consciousness, with Siraj being the king of the shadows, or the king of the beast, who represent the shadow. It all kind of fits, right? Like everything inside Castle Morn is unconsciousness fighting against the consciousness. I mean, in the lore, it could be very well that Master Hugh was this person. he stayed and fought. Mm-hmm. The beast of the golden line and its heritage. What do I need for this? 40 strength. Okay, so I need a lot. Maybe I'll switch over to the claymore for a while. It could be that Castle Morn is also a kind of fissure between kind of the dream world unconsciousness and yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because you see here the spirits it would be really cool if Hugh had some sort of reaction to it. That would be really, really cool. Even if it was as subtle as like a like, like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I made that weapon and, you know, it was me. It could be something as subtle as like a smirk or a laugh, or that would be really, really cool. But as I was saying, it seems that Castle Morn could be kind of this fissure between the unconsciousness and consciousness of the world. Yeah. We see kind of like the spirits misbegotten are dominant here. And this castle was kind of built almost as like a way to stop the incursion of said unconscious beings. Yeah, and this could be, this big gravestone could be, like if we look at where it's at, all the different contextual clues that we're getting with the names of places, with the overall vibe of this Weeping Peninsula, the fact that the Walking Mausoleum is nearby, and by the Fourth Church of America, who is facing away from the Erd Tree, this could be, like, if it is a miscarriage that started this whole thing with America, this giant tombstone could be the representation of that. And the fact that it's at Castle Morn, and this kind of bleed over of the unconsciousness, and it's in the Weeping Peninsula, and the harpies are singing about that they're childless, and that the, you know, why is the god cursing them, and all these different things. Interesting. Yeah, we should, once we get to the plateau, we should really look at the surrounding clues, where America is at in her stage, all that kind of stuff. We might find a connection there. They could also represent kind of the right. Very interesting choice of words. Yeah, very, very apt. These could also represent right. Yeah, I think that if I was going to take a guess, that's kind of what I would. I mean, listen to the music even. I mean, it's. Yeah, man, you should join some live streams. This is kind of how it goes. I'm glad you're enjoying it and you're partaking. It's cool. The only other thing that I could think of is that these represent the different stages of the animus and kind of their departure from the world. If there is, since there's one in Altus, we know that that's kind of Radagon's territory, and we know that Godfrey was here. This could be kind of like his departure from the world, where he actually was banished and left. Not sure. I tend to think it's probably the where the child is buried, just with all the other contextual clues that we're getting, and it's almost like this is the beginning of America taking up the sword against her own kind of previous convictions and starting the process. Not sure. Let's go to round table. Probably gonna have to wrap this up soon. I gotta leave. I gotta shower and get ready and stuff. But we'll quickly do the round table hold since it's changed and new. Talk to these people and then I'll probably wrap it up. I'm gonna try and be on again Sunday night, but just make sure if you wouldn't mind liking this video, subscribing, hitting that bell icon, all that kind of stuff, so that way you know when I'm gonna be on. It'd be awesome. I've got 800 hours and still need one more. Oh man. Jeez, you're an animal.
Are you that new tarnished?
Yeah.
You've done well. I am Enya, the finger reader. I interpret the words of the fingers, envoys to the greater will. Look there. The fingers tremble to welcome you, Shardbearer. Let their wisdom wash over you.
Great Elden Ring, root of the Golden Order, anchor of all lands, giver of grace, wellspring of all joy. Until it was shattered, the tragic corruption of the Order has taken its toll. Across the realm, life
Yeah, that
lies
sucks, dude.
unknowing, fallen to pieces. Foul curses and misery spread, unabated. But the greater will has not abandoned the realm,
Lie.
nor the life that inhabits it. So it is that the tarnished are guided by grace, called to act. Brave tarnished, your great rune is a handsome shard of the Elden Ring. Seek another of its kind to become
Yes.
the Elden Lord.
Definitely, that was very
Restore
painful.
the Golden Order.
Let the words of the fingers guide you.
So we know that at the point that we're at in the Lands Between and in the timeline, that the Greater Will is in fact gone. When Marika shattered the Elden Ring, she rid herself of the outer god of the Greater Will. And so the connection between the Lands Between and the Greater Will is now gone, because of what we know. The Lands Between represents kind of America's internal world, and since she is no longer under the control of the Greater Will by way of the shattering, that it's no longer here. And you can see that so in the opening cutscene, when they're talking about the shattering of the Elden Ring, all that it is it's a chisel that seems to be going down through the Erdtree, and my guess is that's the puncture wound in the Elden Beast. So what we get out of that is, shouldn't Raya Lucaria be in the snowfields as it relates to intelligence, mind, and brain? I don't think so. I haven't found like a really deep connection between like the parts of the body of the fetus and the areas of the game. It seems to be developmental, as like it seems to follow from head to toe the developmental stages that Marika is going through. To me, the snowfields and the mountaintops of the giants, the fact that it's the first stage of the Animus is represented there, the first Church of Marika is represented there. It's white and kind of naive and innocent. To me, that just represents that she's very, very early in her developmental stages. And I think that there's a play on words with like the giants. When she's defeating the giants, it's almost like she's defeating or she's starting to become an individual person by disassociating with her parents. And I think her parents are those giants. I think that, again, as we get further into there, I think that needs a lot more examination. But there's definitely a play on words between what we perceive to be giants in our minds early on in our lives, and how we become an individual person by kind of separating ourselves from our parents. And then as you go into kind of the capital area, it seems to be she's going through her adolescent phase. She's really becoming a person of her own. She's making her own decisions. She's finding her ego is starting to really take shape, and the divisions in her life are starting to have an effect. The second Church of America is there, and Radagon, the second stage of the Animus, second Elden Lord, is there. And then it seems that as we get further south and further along the body, the more and more the older America gets, and the more developed that she gets. So you can look at, the next stage. The next stage kind of being, she's gathering information, she's learning a lot, but she also seems to go through some sort of heartbreak there, as kind of referenced by Renala. And then by the end, she is turning away from the Erd Tree. Something tragic happened, and she's a fully developed person that is now taking control of her life and going through this process of discarding what she once thought to be true, and kind of this rebirth process. That's how I view the map and the storytelling of it.
Well, I see. A remembrance of gold has found its way into your possession. Demigods and even the crater of the champions are hewn by the Erd Tree upon their end into remembrances. They are valuable indeed. These remembrances yet house the power of their former masters. And should you wish to wield that same power, well, I will lend you the strength of the
See you, buddy. I'm almost done here too. I gotta wrap things up. We'll see you in the next one.
From my offer. The fingers guide us all. And you, tarnished, you are here to take, are you not?
One day we'll return together in lands bathed in rays of gold. Great axe wielded by Godric the Grafted. The golden battle axe is emblazoned with the figure of a beast representing the strength of Godfrey. So that right there, like, we know the strength of Godfrey is who he really is, aka Horlu. So the fact that it's literally saying that the beast represents Horlu, first Elden Lord and Patriarch of the Golden Lineage. The embodiment of the power that still remain in the dragon's head, the wielder's arm, blah, blah, blah. There's not really anything there, just a kick-ass weapon.
Great runes are the stuff of demigods, the children of the goddess, Queen Marika, she who is vessel of the Elden Ring. Tainted by the strength of their runes, her children warred, but none could become Elden Lord. And so grace was extended to your kind, the tarnished. Listen, the fingers speak.
The greater will has long renounced the demigods. Tarnished, show no mercy. Have their heads. Take all they have left.
Indeed. But remember one thing. The demigods are each and all the direct offspring of Queen Marika. Godric the Grafted was but a distant relation, the runt of the litter. His divine blood sorely diluted.
So, what I gathered from that was that, because kind of like what we've discussed as all these great runes are aspects of Marika herself. And when she shattered it, she kind of shattered. She spread herself across in this process of rebirth. But her current way of thinking and her current traits are not getting her through this process of individuation, and she needs an outside influence, something from outside of her current psyche to help her along this stage, which is why Tarnished now have this guidance of grace. It was extended to us because she needs our help. Ronnie Radon as direct child of Marika. Yeah. So it gets complicated here because from my point of view, and I think kind of what everything is telling us is that everything happening in the game is happening inside Marika's head. So all of the major characters are aspects of Marika herself. So when you use that as a reference and a framework, it makes sense to say that even though it wasn't from a biological standpoint, those three weren't Marika's children, because they're aspects of her, and because Renala and Radagon are aspects of Marika, they are in fact aspects of Marika. Right. It's tough, and it makes it tougher because I think the only way to explain it is through this framework of human psychology, because we're getting over and over again that the demigods are direct offspring of Marika. Well, how is that the case if Radagon and Renala had children that are demigods? Enya makes it clear that Marika didn't adopt, these children or whatever to make them demigods. And the other thing is with Godric's Great Rune, it says that the first demigods were Godfrey and their offspring, the Golden Lineage. So that means that Godfrey is also a direct offspring of Marika, which means that Godfrey is an aspect of her psyche. That's the only way that you can make sense of all of this stuff. Yeah, I agree. There's no way, if you're looking at it like in a textbook, real world kind of point of view, there's no way to make sense of it.
Greetings. Nice to see you again. My name is Roderica. I should have told you sooner. Isn't this place impressive though? The round table hold, covert quarters of the Two Fingers, and gathering place of champions who vie to become Elden Lord. I never knew the guidance bestowed upon us Tarnished had such fantastic roots.
It's a really good question, because
it's all a bit much for me, in
if
truth.
if they're all direct offspring of America, well, they're all born of a single God, right? Like, I think that the word that was taken out of that sentence is outer. I think when somebody becomes an Empyrean, it's that the outer God has complete control or possession over their thought process. Just like America was an Empyrean of the greater will, and now the greater will is the God in this story, and we know the greater will to be all about order. I think it's just that the demigods who are possessed by and controlled by an outer god seem to have that moniker of Empyrean. And it seems specifically and maybe they're not possessed by an outer god, maybe they're possessed by the greater will. That probably makes more sense. And that they have such conviction in their point of view and their worldview that they have the ability to enact the next order, which is all that the greater will wants, is they just want order. So that's how I read into that.
I'm still looking for my own path.
Yeah, Godwin is called a Scion of Golden Bough. This makes a little sense, unless Godwin is more than that. Unless America sees something else in Godwin. That status makes little sense. So I think so are you wondering why he's has that status and that title? Right, through them change can happen. Yeah, you say it way better than I do. Thank God you're on these. Right. Yes. It doesn't seem to matter their power. Yeah, it seems that they just have the ability to change the world. Exactly. And Radon is resisting that change. So I think the reason Godwin is called, the Scion of the Golden Bough is because, and golden is kind of like his moniker, is well, I think we still have yet to know who Miquella's outer god is. And Ronnie's outer god would, I guess, be the Dark Moon. Because we know Godwin could to kind of be like the pinnacle of America's former thought process, like the Golden Order and all that kind of stuff. I think he represents the ego and the apex of what America thought was the end-all be-all of goodness, basically. Right, exactly. America's idea of perfection, exactly. Which is why he's the one that has to die. If he represents the ego, he has to die in order for her to start this journey. Yep. And Ronnie was chosen by the two fingers, but she found a way to get around that, basically. So I think when she was chosen as an Empyrean, it was by the greater will. But the outer god of the Dark Moon seems to have... yeah, that could be. The Dark Moon seems to have taken control over her life, whatever that means. We know what it ends up looking like in we know what it ends up looking like in the Age of Stars ending. It's kind of this oblivion, void, nothingness. I think we'll find out a lot more about Mikola in the DLC for sure. Historically, Godwyn was a great target. He was the only target, ego. Yeah. And if we look at the different great runes and demigods as aspects of America, it'd be worthwhile for you guys to look up Jung's archetypes, because one of those archetypes is the rebel. It's all confusing, Kim. Like, I think I understand what you're saying. Like, meaning-wise, he was the only person that could die, and from an actual in-game lore-wise, he made sense, because if you kill him, it seems that you dismantle the ELDEN, or you dismantle the Golden Order, giving way to basically rebellion. So, yeah, I would urge you guys, and maybe next time we'll just talk about archetypes, because there's one archetype that's called the rebel, and the rebel fights against order and all that kind of stuff, which is definitely Ronnie. So in America's, as part of America's, we all house all of these different archetypes, and they come and go in different scenarios. The rebel archetype would definitely be the one that starts this ego death process, because it goes against everything else that you've ever known and loved. So the fact that it's Ronnie who does it is fitting in that context as well. So that logic, should Moog be an Empyrean as well? So chosen by the Formless Mother. So that's why I think Empyreans are chosen by the greater will, at the beginning at least, and then there could be where an outer god gains influence over that Empyrean, because it seems like Moog was never chosen by the greater will, but is still completely possessed by an outer god, if that makes sense. Because we know Empyreans to have two fingers. Two fingers represents the greater will. So by that logic, you would have to assume that the Empyreans are chosen by the greater will to begin with, at the very least. And then through their own journeys, they could either double down on the greater will, right, and stick to that, or they can fight against it and essentially become a vessel for an outer god. But it's difficult. Very difficult. I think, again, like, hopefully as we go through and we're meeting more demigods and finding more out as the game unfolds, rather than just kind of jumping back and forth, that these answers the dots will become closer together to connect. But I gotta go, y'all. I gotta head out and do my thing. So if you guys wouldn't mind, one more time, hitting that like button, it goes a long ways. Subscribe, check out all my other stuff. We'll just talk. We'll go through the archetypes next time and see if they fit the different demigods and things like that, and then we'll just kind of keep going. But appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.